Have you ever waited for something special, only to find that it made you feel lonelier than ever before? Imagine this. It's your birthday, a day when all you want is to be surrounded by loved ones, sharing laughter, raising a glass, and feeling truly appreciated, even if just for one fleeting evening. Your partner promised to organize a small party for you. You smiled, touched by their thoughtfulness. But when you arrive at the restaurant, you realize you're not the center of attention tonight. You're sitting among strangers. You hear words of celebration, but they're not meant for you. And there you are, quietly eating your birthday dinner, like an uninvited guest. I stood up, quietly paid my share, and left. No arguments, no anger, just enough. A brief online confession, yet it carries the weight of an entire story about love, expectations, and self-respect. In today's video, we'll explore what seems like a simple story, but reveals deeper layers worth reflecting on. What happens when a relationship stops being about us and becomes solely about me, her, him? How can you recognize subtle but dangerous emotional manipulation? And why sometimes walking away silently is the strongest way to love yourself? If you've ever felt abandoned in your own life story, stay with me until the end of this video, because this isn't just someone else's story, it might just be yours too. There's something fascinating about special occasions like birthdays, graduations, or life milestones. It's not just the gifts or well wishes we look forward to. It's the feeling of being acknowledged, being seen, being valued. But what happens when the spotlight that's supposed to shine on you shifts towards someone else? Let's revisit that birthday story. A young man, 25 years old, not one for big celebrations, agreed this year to let his girlfriend take charge of planning. She promised to make the evening unforgettable. But her idea of unforgettable turned out to be a dinner where she invited all of her friends, not his, no family, no birthday cake, no wishes. Instead, applause for her, a speech praising her career achievements, an evening seemingly designed to celebrate her, and him, the guest of honor that day, just a quiet face at the far end of the table, trying to process what was happening. Sounds strange, right? But sadly, it's more common than we think. How many times have we let others steal the show during moments that were meant to be ours? How often have we shrugged it off, telling ourselves, it's fine as long as they're happy, while our own hearts feel hollow? A woman plans a proposal for her boyfriend, and during the party, his mom stands up to announce she's opening a new bakery. Everyone turns to congratulate her, or a student who finally graduates after years of hard work, only for the celebration to turn into a platform for their cousin to brag about their new startup. Moments like these can leave us feeling invisible, and few things in life are lonelier than that. Sometimes, how others treat your important occasions says a lot about them and the relationship you're in. If someone can't give you one evening, one single day out of the entire year to genuinely listen, raise a glass to you, and let you be the center of attention, chances are you weren't really at the center of their heart to begin with. Someone who truly loves you will want the spotlight to shine on you, not them. Kindness isn't about expensive gifts. It's about making space for you to shine. And sometimes, quietly walking away from a table that no longer has room for you is the first step toward a life where you're truly seen. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Because after that, someone else's birthday evening, what leaves many people grappling with painful truths isn't just the event itself. It's how the organizer reacts afterward. Instead of apologizing, they blame. Instead of listening, they manipulate. There's a special kind of sadness when you're in the middle of a crowded room, yet feel completely alone. That was how the young man felt during his own birthday celebration. sitting at the far end of the table, lost among laughter that wasn't meant for him. No one asked how he was doing, no glances of care, no one remembered that he was the reason they had gathered. Though physically present, it was as if he didn't exist at all. Being ignored on a day that should have been yours isn't just disappointing, it's emotionally damaging. When we're neglected emotionally, it sends a subtle but powerful message: you don't matter. And the most dangerous part? When this neglect doesn't come from strangers, but from the people we trust the most. Imagine this. You arrive at a party hoping to be at the center of love and celebration, but instead, you sit quietly with your drink, listening to everyone talk about someone else's project, someone else's relationship, someone else's success, except yours. It's not because you're uninteresting. It's not because you're unworthy of being noticed. It's because the people who were supposed to notice didn't. Psychological research has shown that being ignored, or emotional neglect, can hurt just as deeply as overt abusive behavior. It makes a person question themselves. Am I not good enough? Am I asking for too much? Maybe I should stay quiet so I don't bother anyone. And in just a few moments like these, we learn to shrink ourselves and give up our right to be loved the way we deserve. Lauren, a listener, once shared that on her 30th birthday, her husband invited his friends over, turned on a basketball game, and spent the entire evening watching TV. She sat in the kitchen, eating her birthday cake alone, telling herself, "At least I still have cake." The ironic part? No one intentionally set out to hurt her, but they also didn't make any effort to make her feel special. And it's that lack of effort that makes the pain cut even deeper. Being remembered isn't a privilege. It's a basic human need. Being cared for on the important days of your life isn't asking too much. It's a simple measure of whether love and respect exist in a relationship. So, if you've ever felt like an uninvited guest in your own life, know that the feeling is real, and you deserve so much more than that. But why, in moments as clear as these, do we often blame ourselves? Why do we feel guilty for feeling hurt, for feeling broken? When you walk away in silence because your heart is too exhausted, the last thing you expect is to be blamed for ruining everything. But that's exactly what happened. After the birthday dinner turned into a celebration honoring his girlfriend, the young man in our story simply stood up, paid his share of the bill, and left. No yelling, no accusations, just a quiet retreat from a place where he no longer felt he belonged. Yet hours later, a message arrived. "I worked so hard to make that night special, and you embarrassed me in front of my friends. You're so selfish." That's when emotions get twisted, and you start questioning yourself. Am I overreacting? Am I making a big deal out of nothing? Maybe I should have just been grateful instead of walking away like that. But let's pause here, because this is a classic technique in emotional manipulation. Guilt tripping. What is guilt tripping? It's when someone makes you feel guilty, not because you did something wrong, but because you dared to have feelings. Instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they make you believe that your pain is an injustice to them, that expressing your hurt is somehow selfish or dramatic. It's subtle, but incredibly toxic. Over time, it erodes your ability to trust your own emotions. James, a follower of this channel, shared how he canceled a trip with his girlfriend after losing a family member. Instead of offering comfort, she replied, "I planned this for 3 whole weeks. I'm sad you didn't prioritize me, but whatever. I guess I don't matter to you." James was grieving, and yet he felt guilty. He started apologizing, even though he was the one in pain. That's the power of guilt tripping. It flips the roles, turning the victim into the guilty party. You're not obligated to feel grateful when someone organizes an event for you. if that event completely disregards your significance. You're not wrong for feeling hurt, and you're not at fault for walking away to protect your boundaries. Recognizing guilt tripping doesn't just help you stay grounded in your truth, it's also the first step toward rebuilding healthier relationships. Which brings us to the next question. When you've been hurt, ignored, and then blamed for having feelings about it, does that relationship still hold any value? There's a kind of strength we often underestimate, the power of silence when you choose to walk away. When people think about leaving, they usually picture a loud argument, doors slamming, tears, harsh words. But in reality, one of the most powerful actions is also the quietest. That's the choice the young man in our story made. No yelling, no confrontation. He simply stood up, paid his share, and left. It wasn't because he wasn't hurting. It was because he had already been hurt enough. Why does silence hold so much power? Because it's the clearest sign of boundaries. No arguments, no long explanations. Just one step back. And that's enough to say, I no longer want to stay where I feel invisible. And it's not an act of coldness. It's an act of someone who has chosen to love themselves first. Think about Jenna, a follower who shared her story with us. For 3 years, she always organized her boyfriend's birthdays, prepared gifts, cooked his favorite meals. But on her birthday, he couldn't even remember. All he sent was a text. Busy with meetings today, maybe we'll make up for it tomorrow. Every single year. And that year, instead of replying, "It's okay," Jenna simply wrote, "Thanks for reminding me where I stand. I wish you well." Then she blocked him. No shouting, no accusations. Just one final, decisive walk away without looking back. Walking away isn't failure. Walking away doesn't make you weak. Sometimes walking away is how you say, enough, and start living for yourself. And here's the thing. You don't need to make a scene for it to matter. In silence, there's clarity. In silence, there's maturity. And in silence, sometimes, lies the loudest statement you've ever made. So, when you've finally found the courage to walk away, what happens next? Will you regret it? Or will you discover something bigger, something more meaningful? Love shouldn't be a one-person stage. It's not a place for one person to shine, while the other sits in the audience, quietly clapping. A healthy relationship is where both people stand on the stage together, lifting each other up and being seen equally. Let's revisit the young man's story. On his birthday, all he wanted was something simple, to feel special, loved, and acknowledged. No extravagant gifts or grand parties. Just the reassurance that someone truly thought of him. But instead, the girl turned the celebration into her own personal spotlight. She planned the event, invited her friends, and spent the entire evening talking about herself. No birthday wishes, no small cake, no moment when she looked into his eyes and said, "Today is your day." And you know what? It wasn't just a lack of thoughtfulness. It was a sign, because someone who truly loves you won't let you feel alone, especially on your most important moments. They don't have to be perfect, but they'll pay attention. They'll ask what you want. They'll sit beside you, not because there's a camera they're rolling, but because their heart genuinely holds you in it. Alex, a close friend of mine, once dated a girl who was wildly popular on social media. She was beautiful, funny, and always knew how to grab attention. But on Alex's birthday, she didn't ask what he wanted. Instead, she threw an over-the-top fancy party, hired a photographer, set up a backdrop, and live-streamed nearly the entire event. When Alex shared that he felt disconnected, she just laughed. "I just spent thousands of dollars organizing this, and you're not even grateful?" The glittering exterior couldn't hide the emptiness inside. and Alex learned a big lesson. Don't stay with someone who makes you compete for their attention. A good relationship isn't about one person shining. It's about both creating light for each other. You deserve someone who remembers the day you were born, someone who doesn't just want to tell their story, but also wants to hear yours. Someone willing to step back so you can step forward when it's your turn to shine. What if you've been in a situation like this before? What if you've ever felt like you weren't a priority, sitting quietly on the sidelines of your own special day? Remember this: you have the right to start over. You have the right to expect more. And you have the right to choose people who truly see you, love you, and celebrate alongside you. Thank you for staying until the end of this story. We're not just talking about a party, we're talking about how we are loved and how we learn to love ourselves.